Hey guys, this is Shiny Zakra and welcome back to week 2 of the SBL. This is the team builder for my week 2 opponent, Pivot and the Exurban Espeons. Their team is Dragonite, Melodic, Espeon, Venomoth, Cinccino, Liepard, Mega Absol, Jirachi, Mesprit, Torkoal, and Meloetta as their Z user. My team, as a little bit of a recap, is Mew, Mandibuzz, Darmanitan, Cobalion, Frostlass, Clawitzer, Mega Gardevoir, Buzzwole, Xurkitree, Porygon Z, and Silvally. My opponent's team has a lot of special attack and a bit more on the specially defensive side, but still has physical threats such as the Dragonite and Cinccino, and even Jirachi for that matter. So, with their team in mind, I have the 6 what I think will be best Pokemon for this, for my opponent. Starting off is Buzzwole himself. I decided to bring Buzzwole again because Pivot had 4 weak to fighting and 3 weak to bug. Granted, 2 of those kind of stayed the same, and Liepard and Mega Absol both weak to bug and fighting. But there was also Espeon weak to bug, and there was the, I can't think of off the top of my head, I'm sorry. But there were 2 other Pokemon that were weak to fighting, so I'm like, Buzzwole would be another great choice. And I went with the Handy Dandy Choice Scarf set again. So we have Work Out the Buzzwole, holding a Choice Scarf, ability of Beast Boost, with the moveset Leech Life, Drain Punch, Ice Punch, all of which stayed the same from last week, except I added Earthquake this time over Rock Slide. Now, Leech Life and Drain Punch, of course, are both for stab and to be able to hit those Pokemon super effective that I have talked about, are my main stabs, so even if something may here or there resist one thing, it might not resist the other. It's mainly there as forms of stab. Ice Punch is for the Dragonite, because after multi-scale, if the Dragonite's not defense invested at all, it's dying to an Ice Punch. Excuse me, it just dies to an Ice Punch straight up, if it was not for multi-scale. And the Earthquake is to be able to at least hit the Torkoal a little bit harder than Drain Punch, and only the Dragonite really saves anything from Earthquake. In fact, Pivot's entire team, I think, is neutral to Earthquake, except for Jirachi, who it's super effective on, which that also helps for Jirachi, and Dragonite, who is completely immune to it. So I went with 252 attack to be able to deal as much damage as I can, 104 speed with Jolly Nature. This allows me to outspeed Mega Absol and Cinccino by 2 points if they are max speed Jolly, and 24 defense with 128 HP gives me a little bit more bulk to be able to live moves. More specifically, I went towards the route of if Dragonite ends up carrying Aerial Ace, we can live a non-boosted one a little bit better than normal. And with that, our next Pokemon that we brought this week is Mega Gardevoir is making a return. Mega Gardevoir and Diantha, who is female shiny, holding the Gardevoir, right? With the ability of Pixelate, and has Hyper Voice, Thunderbolt, Psyshock, and Shadow Ball. This week, instead of a little bit more focus on the dealing more damage, this time it's going a little bit faster. The 176 Timid Nature EVs allow us to outspeed any base 95 speed Pokemon by 2 points. 252 special attack is to be able to have my damage output be as high as possible, and the 80 special defense was to be able to tank special hits a little bit better. More specifically, Shadow Ball from like Espeon and any other thing that decides to carry Shadow Ball. Yeah, base 90 speed Pokemon, if I didn't say that correctly, most such as the Venomoth and Meloetta. I would have gone towards base 100 full speed Timid, but that could leave me in a tie with like Jirachi, and I do not want that to have to come down to a speed tie at all. So I just went with base 95 because it also adds a little bit of me being able to throw a bit more in special defense as well. To talk about the moves, of course Hyper Voice is my main stab, especially with Pixelate. Anything that really doesn't take Hyper Voice, which is really like only Venomoth, it's still going to take a hefty amount of damage if it's not specially defensive invested at all, or if nothing has Assault Vest. Thunderbolt was to mainly have something for Melodic, but the next move I have of Psyshock also helps me against Melodic because I might be able to figure out if it's more specially or physically defensive, and that could really just come down to if I use Psyshock on it. If I see it does a lot more damage, it's more specially defensive invested, whereas if it doesn't do as much damage, it's a little bit more physically defensive, and I could play with Thunderbolt and Psyshock depending on that. And the Shadow Ball was to be able to hit back Psychic types for super effective damage, such as the Espeon and the Jirachi, who would normally resist like the Hyper Voice. That's mainly why that's there. And I went Timid Nature, of course, to go with the 176 speed if I did not say that. And our next teammate that we brought this week, Justice the Cobalion, is coming back. Now, we have Justice the Shiny Cobalion holding Leftovers with the ability Justified with the moveset Stealth Rock, Sword Stance, Iron Head, and Close Combat. Going for a little bit more of a physically defensive Cobalion this week because I didn't really have a dedicated physically defensive wall for this week, and I thought Cobalion with its 129 defense would be a great addition to this, especially because resisting the Dark type moves that are going to be coming my way. The Psychic is going to be neutral, but that, a lot more special attacker, but it allows me to live, it resists both of Dragonite stabs and lives pretty much any one of the 5 hit moves that Cinccino normally carries. It'll be able to live it a lot better that way. So I have Stealth Rock. Stealth Rock I am hoping to put up this week because if Pivot brings Torkoal, that takes 25%. Stealth Rock breaks any sashes, such as me thinking Cinccino might have sash, because usually those carry that. It breaks Dragonite Multiscale, which is really why I want to keep those rocks and why I want to keep Cobalion around. Because Pivot has a few ways they can get rid of it. They have Venomoth and Dragonite, who both get Defog. They have Torkoal, who has Rapid Spin. And they have Mega Absol and Espeon, which can be Magic Bouncers. I have to play around that, remembering abilities for Stealth Rock. Sword Stance is to be able to have a little bit more damage output because of the EVs that I went. It's a little less offensive this week, so I wanted to be able to have something to be able to help out the attack stat a little bit, to be able to deal more damage. Iron Head in Close Combat just as my stabs. Close Combat, helps with all the Pokemon that were weak to fighting, which was 4 of them. And the Iron Head doesn't really help too much, but it's at least stab and hits pretty sure everything on our team neutrally except for like Torkoal and the Jirachi, but both of those I would hit Close Combat or, to be honest, completely switch out. Now, the EVs that I went for Cobalion are, I went with Impish Nature and 136 defense. 136 defense plus Impish Nature allows me to live non-banded Dragonite EQ, having that be max damage of 49.8%, which means if Pivot was to get the high roll twice on Earthquake, it would only deal 98.6 damage, or 99.6 damage, which would allow me to live with basically like 1 or 2 health, and allows me to live 2. The max HP of 248 also helps towards that, and 124 attack was to be able to deal a little bit more damage, like I said, and to complement the Sword Stance. And with that, I guess we can move on to the next member of the team. Porygon Z is also coming back this week. Computer, Shiny Porygon Z, Choice Scarf with the ability Adaptability, with Shadow Ball, Tri-Attack, Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt. This moveset, okay. 104, I'll go over the EVs real quick and then I'll kind of go over the moveset. So I went 104 speed with Choice Scarf, allows me to, again, versus a Mega Absol or a Synxia with max speed, Jolly Nature, I outspeed them by 2 points of speed, 252 attack with Modest Nature to be able to deal as much damage as possible, and 152 defenses to live physical hits better, such as being able to live a +1 Dragon Claw from Dragonite, Sucker Punch from Absol, to be able to wipe it completely out, or even live like a Pursuit of Such comes to such, but with Choice Scarf I should be outspeeding everything. And like I said, 152 to be able to live defense to be able to live some physical hits a little bit better. Shadow Ball, that is for psychic types like the Espeon and Jirachi to be able to hit them super effectively. Tri-Attack is my main form of stab, and since Pivot does not have a ghost, the only thing that resists an Adaptability 405 special attack Porygon Z Tri-Attack is the Jirachi. Otherwise, most things are going to be taking a lot of damage from it. Ice Beam, mainly to hit the Dragonite super effectively, and to be able to, with a 152 defense, it also allows me to live 2 extreme speeds from a Dragonite. So, living 2 of those, if I don't have the Dragonite multisat, or the multiscale broken, Ice Beam at once, it's going to take a hefty amount of damage, but it won't die because of the multiscale. A second extreme speed, one of the 2 extreme speeds would have to get a crit on me. If both of them don't crit, I live 2 extreme speeds with, like, I think around 5 or 6% health, and from there 2 Ice Beams kills Dragonite, and he doesn't really have much to resist the Ice Beam besides Jirachi and Torkoal, really. And then the Thunderbolt was to be able to have something against the Melodic super effectively, and it pretty much hits the rest of his team neutrally. So, another one of those. Alright, next up, we have Flaps the Mandibuzz. This time a little bit different than how I ran it last battle. We have Flaps the Mandibuzz holding leftovers, ability of Big Pecs, with the moves Knock Off, Taunt, Defog, and Roost. Let's go EBs, and then it will kind of go into the moveset I went with. So I went 216 and Careful Nature Mandibuzz. So this is my dedicated special wall for this week, instead of the Gardevoir, who can still live those hits. 216 Careful Nature. The Jirachi is a 252 Modest Life Orb one. Thunderbolt, it is like a smallish kind of chance to 3-hit KO from this range. And if it specs, it kind of has a pretty high chance, like an almost 56% chance to hit KO. But that's where I mainly came from, is 216 Careful. It's like, even through leftovers, it's a kind of small chance to be able to 3-hit KO. And if the excuse me, if the Jirachi is a 252 Adamant Thunder Punch, without Life Orb or anything like that, it is a 32.8% chance of 3-hit KOing me. But like I said, it's more of a dedicated special wall, but it has some physical bulk to be able to live some hits, and the 240 HP, of course, to help out with living these moves. Knockoff is to pretty much have the stab and living 1 hit, unless it's like a Meloetta Z Crystal or the Absol Megastone. Something is losing its item. Taunt is to be able to help me stop setup, and to be able to, whatchamacallit? It's mainly to stop setup moves such as the Dragonite, Dragon Dancing, and whatnot. The Defog is to be able to get rid of any hazards that I might accidentally throw because of magic bounce, or any that Pivot might want to set up. And Roost is, of course, to be able to heal back damage, so that way I can live more hits and be able to stall out and whatnot. And with that, it brings us to the last member of the team this week, the debut of Christmas the Shiny Xurkitree, holding the Psychium Z ability of Beast Boost with Hypnosis, Thunderbolt, Hidden Power Ice, and Signal Beam. The name of this game this week is Z Hypnosis. If I have Xurkitree out in a point where I know it'll be able to deal either a lot of damage or be able to finish up a battle, and I know it'll force Pivot to switch, I can go for the Z Hypnosis. What this does is it basically makes Hypnosis 100% accuracy, but also gives me +1 speed at the same time. So, with 240 Timid Nature plus speed, pretty much I outspeed most Pokemon. I think like the base 110 and base 115 of like Minccino, Mega Absol, and the Espeon. I outspeed pretty much everything but those, and with 252 attack, 252 EBs, I'm going to be a hefty damage dealer, and with the 16 HP that I gave Xurkitree, it actually lives a +1 Dragon Claw from Dragonite, so that could be really helpful with the Hidden Power Ice, for example. If it's whatchamacallit, the 240 speed and Timid Nature allows me to outspeed things such as Max Speed Dragonite, and there was one other thing I can't remember off the top of my head that had a base 81 speed. Oh, Melodic. It allows me to outspeed Max Speed, Timid, or Jolly like Dragonite and Melodic, and there was one other thing of base 80 speed I can't remember off the top of my head. But I will outspeed those, so I could do like a Z Hypnosis on Dragonite, put it to sleep, I could Hidden Power Ice once, break its sash, and if it's still asleep, even if it tries to like extreme speed, it'll stay asleep for at least that turn and one more turn, and then 2 Hidden Power Ices, bam, that's a dead Dragonite. And then like I said, with the plus speed, that's allowing me to outspeed things, so I could just deal a lot of damage before they're able to deal much back to me, and allows for a little bit more sweep potential. Hypnosis, of course, is the main move of why I have it in this moveset, to be able to get that plus speed and be able to hopefully set up sweeps. We have Thunderbolt as my main stab, of course. Melodic is taking a hefty amount of damage. If it's not really specially defensive invested, it's near one shot. Hidden Power Ice, of course, as I've said, is to be able to help with Dragonite, and only a couple things on his team really resist it. And then we have the Signal Beam. Not only the Psychic types, but the Dark types, all about Pivot's team, are not going to be about that Signal Beam. So if I have that +1 speed outspeeding most things, I'm going to be hitting things for a lot of damage. If not, pretty much dead. And yeah, the Signal Beam is just a form of having some super effective hits on some other Pokemon. But with that, that will end the team builder for this week. Thank you guys for watching, and in the next part, we're going to be facing Pivot and the Exurban Espeons in our Week 2 battle. See you guys then.